Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. We can remember what Ma said when the first students of hers back in the late 1950s wanted to build ashrams in her name. And she said, why bother? The whole world is my ashram. And she said many similar things along the way. But basically what this practice, if carried to a great degree, what it delivers you to inevitably is what I call the great intimacy. Meaning that you feel intimate with everyone and everything, not just people or not just sentient beings, not just living beings, but also objects. That you feel this sense of intimacy with everything, and you feel that everywhere is your home. So in that sense, you could be a host to someone that you just bump into on the street for 5 minutes that you don't even know. We could be hosts to people we've never met, people in places. We could be hosts to people in whatever space we're in. And of course, one of the names for Lord Shiva is the host. All of the Hindu gods have many, many names, and those names are pointing us toward recognizing certain qualities of the natural state, certain wisdom virtues that we can have a chance of embodying more or less, depending on our configuration in this life. We have more or less possibility to embody everywhere is home and everyone is our guest and we are the host to everyone. This would be the feeling that we have. And if we grew up in Judeo-Christian families or cultures, if we even became Buddhists at some point or another, we're going to have this idea that when we learn to be the host of everyone, it's a good thing, and we're being virtuous and we're being compassionate, and we've accomplished something. What does this leave out? It leaves out the main point. The main point is that it's just pure pleasure. It is pure pleasure to be able to host anyone and everyone whenever and however you meet them. And it is a feeling of recognition of one's insufficiency when that's not possible, because none of us are totally enlightened, whatever that means. And not me, not anybody in this room or on TV. And that means that no matter how awake we might get in any particular lifetime, we're always going to have limitation. And so if we have a limitation, it's good to recognize it. We don't want to pretend to be in a condition we're not in. That doesn't help our practice. And the feeling of coming up against one's limitation to host and to feel pleasure in hosting and to feel love for everyone and feel that everyone is one's intimate of intimates is not a feeling that you're bad. It's not a feeling that there's something wrong with you. It's just a feeling of not having arrived at recognizing fully one's real nature and just resigning oneself to that in a very plain, simple way without a lot of histrionics. We all have to do this. So if you have this limitation, I don't at all mean that as a criticism. I also have limitations to my ability to host. They might not be the same as yours, but I definitely have them. And it's just a matter of recognizing in a very open-eyed, calm way that we're in this condition and this is how God is showing up like this in this moment. Maybe we'll feel sad. Sometimes I feel sad. I can't host everyone like Ma did. She had much, much more capacity than I do. But then it's just being okay with that and doing your best to keep doing practice and keep expanding one's possibilities of expressing more wisdom. But again, all of these ideas of right and wrong, and somehow broken or repaired, that's another way we think of ourselves, or righteous or not, or doing the right thing or not doing the right thing, is all bullshit. It's really, you just cannot believe how much that is not what it's about. There's just nothing more pleasurable than really feeling that intimacy and being able to help people, even though I know they're not really even separate people and there's nobody there to help. It doesn't matter. See, it doesn't really matter at all, because that's the form of life that God is taking, and having all these opportunities to be in the mix of this arising of duality, have all these experiences of relationship, and being able to recognize what everything actually is, and being able to more skillfully be of use. And there's just nothing, it's just pure pleasure. Unadulterated pleasure, not anything else. It's not moral, it's not ethical, it's nothing. It's just pure pleasure. That's really seva. That's what seva actually is. What else is there?
Envious.
Envious. Well, envy is actually a flavor of Titan Realm. But that's good that you felt it. Because each of our emotions can be thought of as like a series of things. And you have a core feeling of a realm. And then, so the core feeling of Titan Realm is self-doubt, doubt about one's own worth, doubt about one's own capacity, doubt about one's own ability to do stuff in the world. And then there's a series of other things that then culminate in the thing that's furthest away from the core feeling. And the thing that's furthest away from the core feeling in Titan Realm is, I'm better than everyone else. So solve the problem of self-doubt and not knowing how good you are by just claiming you're better than everyone else, right? So envy is not that far. It's a little closer into the core feeling. And that's why I said that it's good if you can feel the envy. And then, of course, why would we envy someone rather than just celebrate whatever people are achieving? Well, we would envy because we think we're shut out from that thing. Or we wish we had that capacity and we're afraid we don't. So it's just a little hop, skip, and a jump to the core feeling from envy. Which is good. It's a lot further if you're like, I just don't know why people cannot do these things correctly. Right? Then you're a ways more than a hop, skip, and a jump.
That makes sense, and it ties into kind of the diminishing capacities of aging, where, on some level, those are things I want to do, but not really anymore.
Yeah, I think coming to terms with older versions of ourselves, younger versions of ourselves, I've definitely run into that. Somebody said to me the other day, something you hear quite frequently, this person's a few years older than I am. And he said, I don't feel like I'm 70 years old. And I didn't say anything, but I knew what he meant. And in a way, it was kind of a declaration of, I don't want you to see me as 70 years old. It had that particular flavor to it. It didn't just seem like a neutral statement. But the sense of gravitas that you get when you get older is just so marvelous. The sense of just being seated in your own life and whatever's going on, and being more okay with stuff and more okay with what other people are doing. I think that's a gift of age. And I didn't say anything to him at the time because there wasn't any point, but I felt like, yeah, I do feel my age and I really, really appreciate it. So in giving up those older versions of oneself, there is gain. It's not just loss. There's a sense of just coming into your own in a certain way and not giving as many fucks, basically, as the cliche goes. But it's actually true about the stuff that used to irk one or unseat one when one was younger, or even the stuff one used to get very, very excited about. So, my whole life, I've been very, very excited about big cities. And it's really been part of my identity almost. And that's what I kind of didn't realize I'd lost when I went back to the Bay Area. There I was in like the biggest megapolis of the United States. There's like 5 major metropolitan areas. You know, you could stand at a certain point on the bay and see all these cities just arrayed around the bay. Millions and millions and millions and millions of people. So many different forms of life, and so busy and so ambitious and so Rahuvian, expansive and full of that energy of excellence. There's like a culture of excellence that doesn't really exist a lot of other places. And I was like, I really just don't care about this anymore. I'm not that ambitious. I don't want to be around all these people. I'm not feeling anything but overwhelmed looking at all these cities. Right? I think part of it is what it is that you wanted out of your life, and has that happened or not? And if it hasn't, try to spend the rest of your life embodying what it is you wanted, what it is you want from yourself, I mean. And I think that's good advice for anybody, and also to just accept our limitations again. Maybe this isn't true for everybody, but I think there's certain things that we might want to be able to embody or might want to do that, having embodied those things and done those things, we would die more easily. We would feel like if we lived longer, it would just be more opportunity to keep doing those things, but we don't actually need to. There's a sense of completion. Not completion like we've reached the end in some ultimate sense, but completion of what's possible in this life. Again, it comes down to we have to make peace with our limitations. We have to make peace with our so-called failures. And then it's always about the future. It's always about, okay, I've felt my regrets and I've cried my cries over whatever it was that I did or didn't do in the past. And I'm just going to have a resolve to do better in the future. And we're going to have a lot of future. When you die is not the end. So you are preparing for something else. And I don't know what that something else will be, but maybe we'll meet again and I'll find out. Who knows? In some other form. Until we take our last breath, it's really never too late to have that sense of completion. You know, when I was younger, much younger, I just wanted to write one good book. That's it. I thought if I could write one book as good as some other book I'd read, some book that I loved, well, I don't know what it was, but if I could just write one book as good as this book, that's it. That's all I need to do, just one book. And then that changed, you know, later it just became, if I could just help some people. And I've done that. And it doesn't have to be anything complicated. I think if you can like genuinely help a single person, you can die happy. Or even a cat. Cat ladies unite. But again, it takes some modesty and realism to be happy with that. I don't feel this, I know this. I know that the bad things we've done or the things we've regretted are erased by the sincerity and honest effort we put out later. I absolutely know that. All we have to do is have one pure moment. I mean, and that doesn't mean being perfect. It just means bringing our everything to the table to whatever it is that we're showing up as in the world. That's all it takes, even if it's still a stumbly effort. If we just bring our sincerity to it, that's all that counts, really. It's just like a solvent. It's a karmic solvent. I know this from doing divination. I'll do a divination in some condition or another, and it'll say, basically, you're completely on the wrong road. Everything's about to be destroyed. You suck. You know, whatever. It'll like yell at me. I'm just doing a terrible job. And then I'll have a freak out, of course. And then I'll just sit there for a minute and just like reorganize inside and get to where I think Ma wants me to be. And then I throw again and it says, everything has been solved. Clear sailing ahead. In a moment. So this is why it's good to not be contrived. Because we can't be sincere when we're being contrived. We have to give up our contrivances. Even just for the time it takes to really sincerely be for another person for once, instead of always having to be partially for us too. A moment of pure generosity. That's all it takes, just one. No matter what horrible things we've done or not done, redemption is always just a breath away. That's one form of mercy. There's always help. There's always another chance. There's always a way to reorganize and re-relate to things. And everything can be erased in a moment. That's mercy to me. And just the fact that we get help. There's wisdom in everything that happens, every circumstance. Life is full of teachers. That's mercy. No one is ever discarded permanently. No one is ever, you did something bad and now you're going to hell and you're staying there. That would be unthinkable. And these things that I'm saying are all coming out of practice, coming out of my relationship to Ma or to wisdom, whatever you want to call it, God. These are things I learned from wisdom. And this is what I'm saying. Wisdom is wisdom. You're a potato chip. Stop telling wisdom what it's about. Just let it teach you. Satsang with Shambhavi is produced by Jayakula, a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. If you enjoyed listening, please help us keep this podcast and many other teachings open to all by making a monthly or one-time donation. Visit jayakula.org to make a donation and explore more of our offerings.